Hi, welcome tonight. Waiting for Julia to join us here tonight, but I'm going to start out here with Kathy and I talking about a few different things in here. Uh, so, what is happening is that, and oh, there's nobody online.
Hmm.
Okay, we'll wait to see if somebody comes on.
Okay. Where's your thing that signals that they come on?
What?
We're over here.
See the little eye over there, right above the word
Uh-huh.
public?
It turns color or what?
No, the number 0.
Okay.
The numbers come beside it. One. Still waiting for a couple more people to come on. Okay, like I said at the start here, Julia's not come online yet. We will wait uh, just a couple minutes, but I'm going to start with a few things. I'm John. This is Kathy.
Hi.
We're going to talk about both unity and about the economy. In the past few years, the economy has faced some real challenges from the pandemic's aftermath to global supply issues and inflation. But thanks to recent policy efforts, we're seeing improvements that directly benefit American workers and businesses. For example, the Infrastructure Act has funded projects across the country, creating thousands of good paying jobs and strengthening our critical infrastructure. We are seeing more competitive wages and opportunities in both urban and rural areas, which lifts everyone up, including small businesses that are the backbone of our economy. We also have a bipartisan focus on supporting American manufacturing by bringing more production home, especially in industries like semiconductors. We are reducing our dependence on foreign countries and protecting our national security, all done while creating jobs here on American soil. And inflation is still a concern, but it's easy. It's now about 2.5%, and the average over the last 20 years is 3.5%. So policies that support energy independence and incentivize efficient manufacturing are helping stabilize costs. The Federal Reserve has taken steps to control inflation, and while it's been tough, we're seeing the economy stabilize without going into a major recession. In the end, these efforts show that with smart, targeted policy and bipartisan commitment, we can create our economy, create good jobs, and ensure a stable, prosperous future for American families. Now, with the people that have already gotten on the system here, uh, uh, could just kind of tell us leave a message in the comments here. What's the main thing about the economy that you see that we need to get done? And if I don't get anything pretty quick, I'm going to have my wife Kathy here explain what is happening to senior citizens. And Verna, I see that you're online. looking at senior citizens.
Well, that jobs report came out.
Speak up a little bit.
The jobs report came out
Yes?
today, saying there was fewer jobs created than they anticipated, but it was going to lead to a soft landing for the inflation coming down and stabilizing the economy that way. I don't understand all of that, but it sounded like it was something that was good. Can
Well,
you expand a little bit more about
okay.
something like that?
Okay, I haven't seen the jobs report, but a soft landing means that the economy is not so hot that inflation is going up, but it's not so weak that we're going to be seeing a recession. Okay, the recession is totally bad for all of us on here. So, in fact, that's probably a little worse than inflation. Like I said during the thing, inflation over the last 20 years has been at 3.5%. That's where we want it to be. Inflation at 2.5% is a little bit too low. During a meeting of actually a forum in which a representative Fishbach was next to me, she totally misrepresented uh, what was happening. She said, 4 years ago inflation was at 1.9%. Well, what that means is that we were in a recession at that time because of this little thing that happened to us called COVID on here. Hi, Denise. So, and we'll I'll get to that here in a second. And but so during the first few Trump years, he inherited a very strong economy. It lasted for about 2.5 years, and it started going down, and then really went down during the uh, COVID period. We had to actually heat things up to get the economy back moving again after the COVID things, because our infrastructure totally stunk when we were trying to get uh, information across to the people and working, getting products to us. That was compounded by avian bird flu. Eggs went up because of avian bird flu. Okay, now Denise, you had a question. What can we do compare corporate greed, raising prices for everyday needs? I believe I just saw today that the record profits for the information. Uh, yeah, I would support what soon to be President Harris will be doing about the people taking extreme profits for stuff that everybody needs and we have plenty of. It should be strictly uh, when we have enough materials but not enough demand, prices should go down. If we have not enough materials and there's high demand, prices should go up. What the corporate greed people are doing here, when it comes to the major food companies, when it comes to the meat companies, when it comes to oil companies, they are actually uh, working hard to make sure that they make the commodities small on here. So what they're making it artificially making it look like we don't have enough product when we do have enough product out there. So what this President Harris, soon to be President Harris's idea is to create laws in which they take illegal or should be illegal profit greed taking on there, and that's what I would like to do at this time on there. So okay, now when we're talking about the economy, I'm just going to talk seniors here for a second. What happens if we go to a nursing home, Kathleen?
Um, it depends on how you're going to pay. Medicare does take care of some of the cost, but people would be left with at least 30% for the first 100 days or so. You'd get to stay for free if you are skilled care. Skilled care means you have to require to have a nurse do the care. That does not mean that you might need help walking or help transferring or having your meals made or your laundry done or anything like that. That's called custodial care. Um, there's some people that can afford to pay out of pocket, but the average nursing home stay can be up to $10,000 a month. I don't know of many people that could maintain that level of output of their personal money. And I see the results all the time. I have people saying, I'm running out of money. I've worked hard all my life. I've never shirked on a bill. And now what do I do? We do have some government programs that can help the Medicare, the Medicaid. And as a nurse, I'm not told what a person pays, whether they pay out of pocket or they're getting some help from the government or anything like that. I just do the nursing. But I do know that nursing homes are businesses and they need to maintain a certain level of profit to keep the doors open. With the regulations and the prices of everything going up, I can only foresee this is getting worse. Does that kind of explain what's going on?
Okay. Now, I think exactly what you just said here makes a lot of sense because one, supply and demand.
Hmm.
Okay.
And the way that happens, supply and demand for nursing for the elderly, is the nursing home has so many beds designated by the states, and they can fill those beds, or they can set a number aside that they don't fill, so that they can keep operating and get their Medicare funding, and that's where most of the nursing home money comes from. And that can be 5 beds, 10 beds, uh, but those beds can't ever be filled. And most nursing homes have a goal, a census goal that they need to reach, that they meet all their bills and can make a little bit of a profit. And that's where they're aiming to keep those beds filled. Uh, if they don't make a profit, the nursing homes close. And if they close, we don't have any beds, and there's more struggle to find places for people to stay and get the care they need.
Okay. So boil it down here. One, nursing homes do not feel that they're making enough money to stay open. A lot of places. That reduces the number of beds.
Mhm.
And when you reduce the number of beds, it raises the individual costs for the smaller other units.
It raises the competition of people to be able to find a place to stay.
Okay. So
And one of the things people are looking for are like specialty places like memory care, behavioral units, things like that. Those are the first to get cut. So, because they have to stay full, they have to find people to stay there. But the nursing homes will be trying to keep people that are a little bit more confused, but able to have them stay safely at the nursing home away from a memory type of unit. They're competing for their customers and their residents that they would need to take
okay.
care of.
So I based on what you're saying, we need subsidies for the government. So one, we can pay the people enough so we can get enough people in there to work so we can keep these places open.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Michelle Fishbach believes that we should reduce regulations, which I personally feel would make things less safe. Now, just a couple other things that have helped with inflation here. We happen to have solar panels. In the summer, our electric company pays us. Last month, using all of our stuff, and it's no longer summer, it's late fall, we only paid $35 for all of our electricity. Now, when the snow comes, our electricity will be going up. But basically, we are bringing in about $100 a month using solar on there. That, for us, helps our pocketbook. The Infrastructure Act allowed for more clean energy to come. And right now, clean energy is cheaper than coal, and probably almost as cheap as natural gas on here, even here in Minnesota, in which it gets really cold in here. So by reducing, by increasing clean energy, we're actually reducing our producers' costs on there. Now, another thing is, mentioned avian flu earlier on here, which really put a spike on a lot of our food in this country on that. Uh, and at the time during the Trump administration, they actually reduced the number of farm inspectors and health inspectors to handle this type of inspection and finding out that it happens, and so it doesn't get out of hand on here. I call that an investment rather than a cost on there. You can spend money or you can invest money. Building our roads out is an investment. It makes it cheaper to run your car on there. We can get our market out to people. We can work to safely move sale from one place to another. The farmers can get it to market. The other people can get it back to us on there. Uh, and yeah, that's a very good question on here, and I'll talk about that in a minute uh, on there. But that's what we need. Now, Denise asked, how does someone living on Social Security afford putting in solar panels? Well, we did it while we're still both working, so but uh, believe it or not, Germany put solar on a lot of homes in that country so they could reduce their carbon footprint. The government would save money by putting solar panels out on homes without taking up good farmland. So that is one of the things we can do on there, and it can go back to the grid and help the grid that way. Uh, so it's basically giving the aid where it's needed. I got a big tax deduction, but at the time we were both earning money on there. But for people that don't get a good tax deduction, you could probably put them up quite efficiently. In fact, with our solar panels, almost right away, we were getting more energy back than what we were paying the company that we bought energy from on there. So, but putting the money out at the beginning is tough. That's why we need to have incentives from the government to help us do that. Did that answer your question?
I would like to see infrastructure being paid forward, helping people get their panels. Now, it's going to take time to research and develop programs and to roll out to help people, but you have to get people in office that are willing to work for you and with you to get stuff like this. And that's one of the reasons Sean is running, so that he can help people.
Yeah, the whole idea is that we don't spend money stupidly, but we invest the money in stuff that helps people. Another way we can help people with their costs is provide funds to weatherproof their homes. Go ahead.
We are already, we do have like fuel assisted programs. We do have places that you can apply to get your new windows or windows sealed in your house improved that way by the government. I don't see why, with enough planning, we couldn't start trying to get people solar panels.
Yeah.
It's the thing of the future to me. I remember 60 years ago being in grade school, and they were talking about how in 50 years we would see all of these wind powered things, all the solar powered things, and we wouldn't need all of this stuff. And the thing is, between the time the technology was developed to now, we let it lapse. We relied too much on the carbon fuels that were cheap at the time and stuff. And now we have to plan and catch up.
And I'm going to continue on they give a lot of benefits to houses that need to be fail proof, but that still doesn't help the people on Social Security.
No.
And we need to make sure that those people are taken care of, that we can make these houses, like Kathy and I will not be in our house forever, as she keeps reminding me on here. And, but we need to make sure that these are taken care of so the next generation has less energy so they can afford to live on what they're doing. Now, one of the other high costs is daycare on here. Uh, that's for the younger families. That doesn't affect us right now, other than talk
No.
about grandchildren.
Other than I'm not babysitting.
Okay, we don't live close enough to our grandchildren on here. But there's a couple things that we have to do, and reducing regulations is not the thing that we have to do this, because that's just putting your kids at risk. So what we need to be doing on here is to make sure that we fund daycares and daycare startups. And if Verna is still on here, I don't know, uh, daycare startups, we can make it affordable. And we're actually talking about housing credits on here that help build these daycare centers. They're talking about child care subsidies, tax incentives on here. Even Trump talked about $5,000 for that, but I don't think that's quite enough. It should be about $6,000 per person on there, and per child on there to do that. But we also have to raise the amount of pay so we can have daycare workers. That's another problem. We're short of workers and they don't earn enough.
Well, one of the things that we were talking about, women's health issues and things the other night, was that one of the major churches in the area, daycare, had to close because they couldn't find enough workers. And the town of Long Prairie is now working to form pods. Can you explain a little bit more about that, John?
A pod is they're going to take like a hotel or a little individual cabin-like places, like in an industrial park on there or an old hotel ground. You rent them out to individual daycare providers. So you can have smaller groups of daycare in the stuff. The biggest problem is making sure that there's a play area, because the kids cannot share the same play area at any one time. But these smaller units with the daycare providers will allow people to get less expensive daycare. And we need daycare, when you earn, say, $15 an hour down at the meat plant here, you've got 3 kids, and they charge $300 a week for each of them, $9,000 a week almost on there. You just can't afford to be doing that, and that's the other thing that we need to do. Now, another key issue when it comes to the economy is
just to remind you too, Long Prairie didn't just come up with this idea. It is modeled after actual working pod units in Wilmer, Minnesota. So the two towns are working together to share this information, what they're learning, what's working and what is not working. So I think that's kind of great, and I think more areas should check into seeing something like this if you're interested.
okay. Now, housing, that's the other big complaint. Well, I'm gonna start off on one of my old shoes on here. We need people to work to build these houses. We need people to work to repair these houses. We need people to put a new roof on my house because of a hailstorm on here. And we don't have enough people. And there's certain groups of people that would send this workforce out of the country on here. We need to make the border safe, but have ways to let them into the country safely, make sure that they have the skills that we need, and that to do that we need more border agents and we need training at the border. We need to make sure that the companies all across the country know that there's this workforce and help them come up there. That way we can build the houses or we can repair the houses on here. We can build new apartments. That's one thing that we need to do. We also have to incentivize builders not to build the mansions, but to build 1 and 2 bedroom homes without all the bells and whistles. The basic type of homes, well built with good stuff, but not just the crappy stuff that falls apart. But we need to build all of that stuff together to make sure that we can get housing, enough housing in here. They have to do things like Osakas, in which they will give people to tear down, buy the land, they'll tear down the building for you and help you build the next house. We have, I believe, soon to be President Harris, it has a plan in which they will be working to give $50,000 or $25,000 for a down payment based on your situation, so you can afford to buy a home. As interest rates are coming down, and the fact that if you have a $200,000 home, let's say, and you have a $50,000 down payment on there, plus maybe a little bit more that you can get, that makes your housing payment small enough that you could actually afford it. Could probably actually bring it down under $1,200 a month for a 2 bedroom house. So those are the type of things that we need to do to help the economy. Now, so as we're working through this, I'm still waiting to see if we have any more comments from our audience up here.
Anything you would like to talk about?
Anything that you would like to tell us? Still quiet. Click, click, click. Okay. Now, we will be working through all of this and things. The other thing is unity, which Julia wanted to talk about. My goal as a candidate is to attack ideas, not to attack a person. Uh, just today, I was in with a group of people, and he said, "Why should I listen to any of the news? All it is lying and lying, lying, lying." Uh, and he basically said it was we Democrats were doing all the lying, and I just kind of said I kind of take that personally, and tell me when you caught me in a lie. And since he'd never read anything of mine, since he only read stuff from the other side, he couldn't do that. So what we have to do is make sure that we get people together. We talk. I believe I've made an effort over the last 9 months here, almost 10 months, I believe, to work our way through this and talk to the people friendly. I saw the signs that got torn down, just really destroyed, which is sad. And we have to make sure that we don't do any of that stuff, that we don't belittle the people. We can only do what we can do. But make sure that we talk and we try to find common ground wherever we can. That's unity. We have to make sure that we do let people know that we think it's a lie and tell them why, but we have to have our facts together. We have to have our ideas and all of our facts with the sources to work our way through that. So that's what I have to do. And what do you have to say, Kathleen?
Yes, we have to work with the common ground and come back and do things, because when we have one group in the House saying no and another group saying yes, they're not going to get anything done, and that's stagnation. And we need to grow as a country and a nation and as a state. And the only way we can do that is to learn how to get along and represent everybody.
Okay. Now, your representatives, here's one of my things I have to say. To work on the various bills. Any bill that is passed, any bill that is passed on HIP. Okay.
Hi, Julia. Now I can hear you. Oops. I just destroyed my thing.
Okay, need to turn on your camera, Julia. Hi. We actually started at 7. Somebody in the background has their TV on.
Politicians are oftentimes late.
What's the matter?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Jeez.
That's okay. That's
Okay.
okay. We're good.
No, that's fine. That
You're,
happens.
you're getting here just in time.
We're talking about unity right now.
Oh, okay. Great.
I went through a lot of stuff on the economy on there. We talked a little bit about this. I do need to make one statement here that when, as a representative, I feel that any bill that gets passed has to have some Democrats mad and some Republicans mad. Okay, there's got to be something in the bill that makes both sides angry, but that you can live with. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I feel. That's the only way we're going to get things done. There's no such thing as a perfect bill, and I'm not perfect on here. By the way, Denise came up with a question here. Today I heard a woman say that pharmacy refused to fill a prescription because they would not make any money. I live in Park Rapids, and the last month Coburn's closed the pharmacy. Can they legally not fill a prescription?
They can limit the amount of different meds that they have and can say, I'm sorry, we're out. We can get it for you. And you really can't wait for that med, so you have to go somewhere else. But they're not refusing to fill your prescription. They just don't carry enough of it
Or they don't
to
carry it,
fill for everyone.
and they don't carry it at all because it doesn't make a profit. Can they do that legally? Should they be able to do that legally? I think, well,
Legally, they have a supply. It's just out.
yeah. So
But
we'll
no,
work on
they
that.
should be able to fill your prescription.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's where we
Okay.
need Keith to come.
yes, we need Keith in there. Okay,
Keith Ellis.
Julia, I'm back to you. Let's talk about unity. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just got a loose connection someplace here.
Okay.
Looking for my economic notes. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody.
Life gets in the way. We understand.
Yeah. Scrambling to get call lists together and feed my husband all
Okay.
at the same time.
He has to get his own sometimes.
Yeah.
But she does spoil me whenever she gets a chance. So.
Yes, I try. So thanks everybody for joining, and I'm so sorry I'm late. And so you're talking about unity mostly.
Now we just started getting into unity.
Okay. But you went through economics?
We went through a lot of economics, but anything that you want to add. By the way, the new drug rules, more drugs will be coming aboard that we, for Medicare, they can negotiate prices on there. I happen to know that I'd get at least 2 medications from Canadian Pharmacy. If I did it through my health plan and Medicare, it was $220 a month. And through Canada, without a health plan, it was $60 a month. So, I mean, all the other countries can do it. We can't. Because that's why we need new representation in the nation, at the nation and in the state. So go ahead. Now, it's all yours, Julia.
Oh, gee, I want to give my opening pitch about the economy.
Okay.
You know, let's see. And one thing I think I mentioned to
Julia?
yeah.
some of these folks are here from our district. Could you possibly tell them where you are running from and a little bit about you first?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Julia Hipp. I'm running for a state representative in District 10A, which is Aiken County, parts of Crow Wing, Kennebec, Mille Lacs, and Morrison. Morrison is the largest county that is in my district. And I think I brought this up to you, AJ, earlier about the program about being able to get for first-time homeowner primary residence in the country, so they can get up to $35,000. It's interest-free. It's forgivable. And it's also for owned a home but lost it due to foreclosure. So anybody that had a foreclosure can apply for this as well. And there is up to $53,000 if you qualify for additional for closing costs and the loan programs kind of stuff. So it's pretty generous. And it's you have to stay in it for 10 years. Half of the loan is forgivable after 10 years. The rest of it is forgivable after 20 years. And like I said, it's an interest-free loan. And I mean, I just think it's so generous.
I think it's a good start.
Yes.
The key word is start, because it is so hard for anybody to get a down payment and maintain something they're trying to buy at the same time.
My copies.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my beginning pitch for economics. And I like to say, my fellow Minnesotans, we stand at the dawn of a new era of economic growth and opportunity. In the past few years, we've seen job growth, wages rising above inflation, and rural areas benefiting from targeted tax incentives. And this is a sign of progress, but it's just the beginning, just like what Kathleen was saying, it's a beginning. And so as we embrace the economic momentum, it's essential that we ensure this progress is sustainable and inclusive for all. That's why I support the key initiatives like the CHIPS Act and the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan. And these laws are already helping to control inflation, create jobs, and bring much needed relief to hardworking families across our state. But we can't stop here. We need to go further to protect our economy and uplift our communities. It's time to provide real tax relief for middle-class families, support small businesses as the backbone of our local economies, ensure access to affordable housing and health care for everyone, invest in education and mental health services for our children. So as your state representative, I will fight for policies that build a stronger, more equitable Minnesota. Together, we can create a state where everyone, no matter where they live or what they do, has a fair shot at success. In this land of freedom and opportunity, let us embrace this new chapter with unity and determination. Now more than ever, we need leadership that is bold, compassionate, and focused on unity. Let's work together to continue this economic progress and make sure no one is left behind. So let's unite to move beyond the negativity. This is where I always include this in unity in whatever I'm talking about, because that is so important. Because together we can secure a prosperous, fair future for all Minnesotans. And let's Let's get together and build a brighter future for Minnesota. And there are so many statistics, John, that you've probably already cited, but some of the latest ones are when I look at some of the stats, gross national product. Where'd you go?
Denise, we want you to know that we do see your comment and we do agree that this will give people a chance that they would not have otherwise been able to take advantage of and use.
Yeah. The jobless rate has gone from 6.4. This is in the state of Minnesota. It's gone from 6.4 down to 4. And I don't have the current ones on food prices, but a year ago they were up as much as 22.4%. I think the largest increase was, one of the largest, auto repair. That was up almost 42%. And car insurance, 52.7%. Gasoline has been up 57.8%. And electricity was up 30.1%. But now, as I'm looking at the latest gross national product numbers, it's showing that the actual cost of utilities has dropped 12%. So we're seeing the progress. That's why I say we see progress, and we cannot stop it now. And if we have the GOP get in there and all they want to do is budget and hold the costs, they want to ban all mandates for everything, whether it be schools, the environment, everything. They just want to stop it. And we can't. Now, one of the goals I know for the Democratic Farmer Labor Party is, there have been mandates that have come down, particularly to the schools, that they did not provide funding for. And that's caused a lot of heartache, I want to say, and headaches in the school districts. And that's what we need to catch up with. Now, part of the stimulus money that Governor Walz handed out a couple years ago, where the Republicans say that we wasted $17 million, and it wasn't a waste. It was an investment. And that's the difference between the Republicans and the DFL, is we believe in investing in our people, and all they want to do is stop spending money and take away all of these investments. And I tried to explain at the forum the other night, where I try not to get too deep into finance, because I have a master's degree in finance, so I'm always talking finance. But first thing to keep in mind is that finance is economics in action. When you invest in the proper places, you do see dividend returns, or what's called in finance a return on investment. But we don't see that right away. It takes like some of these laws that the Biden-Harris team put out there. They've taken 3 years for it to really finally start to take a hold. But those investments are paying off. And that's where, like I said, we're different. No, what I want to explain is that we have from a finance standpoint, we call it a quantitative value and a qualitative value. Your qualitative values are your community, your people, your schools, your small businesses, and so forth. And then your quantitative value are your townships or your cities, their balance sheet, and their profit and loss statements. Well, the Republicans want to control those balance sheets and profit and loss statements and control any investment. But we invest. And when we invest in those, in our people, in our communities, so forth, then that returns a quantitative value. Not only a quantitative value, but our well-being, the social what do I want to call it? The social benefit, the well-being of the community is uplifted. And we see that. We're already starting to see that progress happening. And so I just ask everybody to keep in mind that investing really it's not spending. It is investing, and it's not sunk money, because we do get a return and we do see it in our communities. And there's a whole lot more programs like I'm trying to think of the Green New Deal. And that involves, I think that's going to even involve here in Aiken, they want to build a new school. Well, they can get a whole lot of money from this Green New Deal for, because if they build it with a green, with renewable energy and those kinds of things, and they can qualify for some of this money. And the same thing for small businesses. If they renovate, that's the right word. I was going to say rehabilitate, but renovate old buildings and make them more energy efficient, they can get some of these funds as well, just from this Green New Deal. And there's a lot of other programs that are happening that can help further develop our communities.
I'd like to add just one thing. You were talking earlier. Gas 2 years ago was $4.50.
Yeah.
Today it was $2.94.
Yeah, I saw it was $2.69 in Aiken today.
It's too far to drive to get the gas tank.
Oh no, I know. Just teasing.
But, no,
yeah,
I know people. Yeah, I mean, it's taking hold here. It's actually taking hold, and that's the important thing. I talked about this before. As a computer person, we always talked about the initial cost of operation versus the total cost of operation.
Mm-hmm.
The initial cost of operation, if you invest right and do it right, the cost does not raise totally. If you just do it halfway, I was going to use another word.
I know what you're going to do.
Yeah. But if you only do it halfway, the curve, here's the little curve for doing it right. Here's the curve on the cost if you do it wrong. Doing it wrong costs you a lot of money.
Yes.
And China's in problems right now. Japan has had problems, but the one things that they do different than the U.S. is we have to file a report every year on the profit and loss, and the CEOs don't get their $25 million bonus if they don't meet the certain type of things. And Denise, that happens to be one of my pet peeves, that a CEO can earn 3,000 times more than their average worker. And it's capped in Germany, by the way, at 22 times, but for a corporation.
Oh,
on there, if you're a corporation, I think it's 22. I heard that on the radio, but I haven't checked it. So if I lied, I will repent and do it right here. But on there, so we need to do things right. We need to invest, and we have to think longer than from one quarter to the next quarter. Mm-hmm. We have to think what's going to happen in 5 years, what's going to be happening in 10 years. I have a lot of faith in our scientists.
Yes.
Okay. We got our cell phones where they were, remember not too long ago when all of our phones had tails and were connected to a wall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Remember that? I think a lot of the people here are old enough to remember that. And now we have these things that we hold in our hand that does my flashlight, it's my GPS, it's my messenger, it's my picture taker camera, the higher quality than I could afford back then. And that's because of what we're doing in science. Once we get the battery technology, once we get the other stuff, it's going to be a lot cheaper
Yeah.
for most vehicles to be electric, especially since you don't have oil changes, and you don't have all these other maintenances, the spark plugs and stuff like that. The electric cars, a lot of dealers don't want to use electric cars because their profit is in their maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
those are the type of things that we need to look at. I don't know if we will have electric powerful enough to be these big farm tractors up here, but we could always use biodiesel for that. So I remember having a party line that shared the line with the neighbors. Denise, how many rings was yours?
Yeah.
Huh? How many rings, Denise?
Too short, one long.
Too short, one long. Was that yours?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you bother to listen into your neighbor, dear?
You bet.
You bet. And did you make sure you weren't talking to any of the boys when any of the neighbors were listening in? Oh, hers was two lines. Okay, two rings. So she's not going to answer that question in front of me, whether she uh, didn't want to talk to her boyfriends on the party line.
Oh no, that was after I moved to Minnesota.
That was after you moved to Minnesota.
I was
you were
married.
married. Okay. So anyway, let's move on a little bit here to the unity on here. Go ahead, dear.
I'm going back earlier. We were talking about how to afford solar panels if you're on Social Security and stuff. How do you afford anything if you're on just Social Security? A perfect example of me not understanding the problem was several years ago. I went to a potluck, and somebody that was definitely 15, 20 years older than me brought a small thing to the day. And I'm thinking, well, everybody else has brought this. This isn't, I don't know, did they not have time or whatever? But at closer I got to Social Security and found out what I was going to get, I quickly understood this person was bringing something to a potluck, and it was probably something that they would not have normally bought, that cost them money, that they'd have to take away from somewhere else to be part of that potluck. And once I understood things like that, Social Security got serious for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to work towards getting, it's not a livable wage, but a livable Social Security.
Right.
Because there's people that don't get as much as the $2,200 they're saying is the average Social Security income for a month for some people. And we've got to figure out how we're not going to leave all these seniors behind. They worked hard, they paid in the money. We need to help take care of them. Actually, take care of me, but
yeah.
But so we have programs that we're trying to help the children with, feeding them in school. There's WIC, there's other programs, or SNAP, and things like that. We also need to continue to work towards programs for the seniors. One of the things that I found, a lot of them here are going to, what is that called? The Fair Share food boxes.
First Harvest, the food.
First Harvest and things like that.
I deliver food for them, yeah.
And then there's a dairy supplement, things that come around every so often and stuff that they're able to take advantage of. But that's not enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just add on, we're talking about Social Security. According to the latest economics, if Trump's plan comes before us, while it does something with payroll taxes, well, payroll taxes pay Social Security. They figure Social Security would be broke in 5 years, all of us would lose it in 5 years if Trump gets to go through with that plan.
Oh yeah.
That's one we've got to block in the legislature if he's elected, and I don't think he will be, but that's fine. The second thing is, I'm going to use little fingers here. This is how much money that is paid into Social Security based on our wages. It's capped at $178,000. Anybody earning more than $178,000 doesn't have to pay any more Social Security. This much money is what is above that little cap on there. Most of the wages in this country is not taxed for Social Security. Okay, the same thing over here, the two little things. This is what the employer pays. Now I'm saying if we remove the cap and make these people pay their fair share, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, you pay their share because Musk actually paid less in taxes last year than I did, which is obscene.
Yeah.
If we get that, the way I look at it, Social Security could give everybody a 10 to 15% raise, and it would last to 2150. Just made the people pay that can afford to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the key things that we have to think about when we're working on this. So that's what's going to help the seniors. And the thing is, we have to raise the income tax on the other people. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Plus, there's other discussions going on, like property tax to freeze for seniors that are on Social Security, to freeze their property taxes so they don't get increased, or try to remake that formula specific for seniors. And that's one of the options that we're looking at.
Well, also on the property tax, a large of it is for the schools.
Yes.
Okay, plus the infrastructure around the state. The federal government can give you legislatures in the House and the Senate of Minnesota block grants, in which you decide how you use the block grants, who could then give it to schools so that the school board could decide how to use it. We give the money, very few strings attached, and we can drop the property tax by spreading the money out all the way across there. Okay, so now we take a look. Edina has a little bit more money than Aiken and Long Prairie.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
A lot more.
Yeah. That's why they got a wonderful school.
Yeah.
And Long Prairie has a wonderful school too, doing it with less. But if we could drop the property tax by giving block grants, so Edina's helps Long Prairie and Aiken,
yes,
then we can help everybody in this area because that's just the facts of life.
Right.
We
fair share.
We got to do a fair share. We got to take people first.
Yep.
People first. That's where we have to be. So,
does anybody have any questions?
Any more questions out there?
Anything they'd like to talk about?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah. How many people are on the call that are on Social Security and or Medicare?
Well, you've got two of them sitting right here.
Yeah.
And we're both still working too.
One here. Well, I came out of retirement to do this, so.
Well, I've retired twice. So,
yeah.
Okay.
I'll catch up to you.
Okay. Denise is okay.
Yeah.
Admitting it. So, it's one of the things. If the people here that are just making the comments, we don't know how old you are. You can lie. So.
Right. But it's it helps us guide us.
Yeah.
To know who is in that bucket. If there are younger people on the call, then we could address some of those issues as well. Every age group, I shouldn't say every age group, but each generation has their unique needs and wants. I'm raising a grandson.
So wow.
Too, yeah. Wow. Good going. Good going.
You go, girl, Denise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's got to be hard, really hard.
So, yeah, people are popping on and off on us. I don't know what's going on there, but could be bad internet. And speaking of internet, no, we need to get it out there. We cannot have telemedicine without good internet.
Right.
We can't have all the college stuff without good internet. And everybody needs good internet that needs it. The ones that don't want it probably are retired, but so anyway, so that's where that is. Now, you had Julia, you had some things you wanted to talk about unity. I talked a little bit about both sides have to put something in the bill they don't like. Have to have something in the bill they don't like as long as it's not terrible. But talk about some of the things that you wanted to talk so we can get together and actually get some of this stuff done.
Yeah. Well, I sometimes fall back on relationship building. And I'll even just talk about my relationship with Ron Krisha, my opponent. And even though I called him out on a lie, he was very cordial and we're very conversational. We both have the mindset that we need to speak with each other and we need to work with each other, even if we disagree on certain things. And that's where it starts, at least for the legislators. We need to, have relationships with each other and be able to work with each other. I'm a lot concerned about how the violent, can I say that? The violent rhetoric that we've heard for too many years now that has affected our young. It affects everybody, but particularly our young. I wish I had those stats in front of me, but when there was a survey done of high school students, the percentage of high school students that had a thought about suicide has gone up over the last 4 years dramatically. I'm sorry I don't have that right in front of me, but it is startling to find those stats. And they're even higher in our Native American communities. And that's where we're trying to get more social, I forget what they're calling them, but school counselors, psychologists, healthcare into our schools, because the level of anxiety for these kids is way high than what it was 5 years ago. Well, even longer than that. But anyway, everyone I think understands what I'm trying to get at, and that's my concern is getting healthcare or not healthcare, mental health services into our schools and more aware in our communities, because there's a lot of organizations in our towns that aren't really advertised so much, and we need to give them more funding so that they can make it more aware. For instance, the 833 number, 866 number for suicide.
Yes.
They've been putting more money into that and allowing them to use funding to build communication programs so that we can raise the awareness of these programs and get that number out there, so that folks know it's there and that and to encourage them to use that number, even, rather than, what do I want to say? Because sometimes some health insurance doesn't cover enough of this.
Some health insurance doesn't cover any of it.
Yeah. And then if they do, they have a high copayment. And that's the other thing we're trying to get done, is to eliminate that copayment from these insurance companies and make them provide mental health services within their plans without jacking up their prices. That gets me back over on the corporate greed stuff, corporate price gouging and CEO pay and all that kind of stuff. And you've heard my story, AJ.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens, and it's just a shame. Um, um, I hate to get off the ball a little bit, but just as an example, I worked at a bank. I worked at a lot of places, but one in particular was a bank, and they had 4 tax attorneys. 2 of them spent full time figuring out how they could make more money, how the executives could make more money. Not about the shareholders, not about their employees. It was all about the executives. And one of the mechanisms they used was uh, they issued all the executives what they call phantom stock. So it's stock that is issued, but they can't hold it. They don't hold it. And then the next thing they did was up the dividend. So all these executives are getting, added income from these dividends from this phantom stock that they don't even own. They don't have any skin in the game as far as that is concerned. It was just another mechanism for them to make money.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to, some of those address that whole corporate price gouging, CEO pay, and
The corporate greed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Denise mentioned that cyberbullying is terrible. And yes, I agree. Now, one of the things, I'm in the computer business.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of terrible things said about the other side from both sides on there. I happen to think one is more violent than the other. But the problem is you can do it anonymously without seeing it in seeing somebody's face and seeing the stuff on there. I know it's been true for a long year, at least according to the TV movies that I see. The teenagers picking up the in group picking on the bad group on that, and there was that type of bullying. But now they can do it 24 hours a day, and that's what they couldn't do back in my day. I was kind of lucky. I had one guy that was trying to bully me, and then when I got big enough, being an athlete, I cleaned his clock. It was kind of funny. I got in a fight, and finally he gave up and walked away, and because he said I broke his glasses. Well, I went home, and I told my mom right away what happened. If Mrs. Grable calls, it's because I beat Denny up. And then all of a sudden there was this knock at the door. And my mother gets this look, and she goes answers the door, and it was her minister. And he says, "Beulah, you look like you've seen a ghost." And I said, "Well, John just got in a fight and beat up Denny Grable. I was scared it was his mother." And then the minister said, "Good for John." But I know, and it's not something that I probably should have done, but that's the only, and not everybody could, because I was getting to the point where I could. And I understand.
Yeah.
I understand what the kids that get bullied, how they feel, and when and not all of them could do what I did and grow into this stage in which I was tougher than they were. So, but that's the type of thing. But what we have right now is a culture of bullying. You get your way by bullying the other person, calling them names, telling them they're not worth anything, or
it's out there, and not only does the person that it's directed at sees it, but everyone else does, and there's nothing they can do to bring it off the internet or anything else. They have to face it all the time.
Facebook and, well, I don't know about Twitter so much, but they claim that they're trying to build the algorithm so that some of this is reduced, but it's still up to, I think it's the National Security Department, NSA, that has to intervene and say, "Hey, this is a hate thing. You got to take this down. You got to take this down." And they're working on stuff like that, but it's up to the government to tell them. And that's the thing, that we shouldn't have to tell them to take down hate language. Along that line, I want to add that over the last, since Trump came into power, when he was in the White House, blogs in particular have increased 80% from what they were in 2016. And the majority of them are hate groups. And that's the other thing that I want to be able to go after as far as twofold about these blogs that they're nothing but a camouflage for hate groups or white supremacists or bullying. It's just hate. And the other thing is that we've found, and you have to look for it, there are officials, sheriffs, from school board members to sheriffs and so forth that are members of these blogs, of these hate blogs. And that's be one of the first things I would do, would put in a ban for any official. They cannot be associated with any kind of a hate group.
Mhm.
And we don't have that kind of a regulation right now,
No.
or part of the ethics code. So yeah, there's some.
If we don't have an ethics goes for the Supreme Court, how
Yeah.
can we have it for anybody else?
Yeah.
But on here, yeah, they need to be called out. I know down south there was a sheriff that was bullying his neighbor because he put up a Harris Wolf sign and told him he had to take it down or he's going to start arresting him.
Yeah.
And, but on there, but anyway, and the thing is with this, people just don't believe things. People don't look to both sides of any issue.
Mhm.
Even those on our side, we have a lot of us that don't look at both sides on here, and everybody needs to look at both sides of an issue when we do this. Okay, I'm going to make a confession here. I do very little MSNBC except Rachel Maddow.
Yeah, I love Rachel.
Okay, I do occasionally listen to Sean Hannity, but
Ooh.
I actually do listen to the BBC and Al Jazeera, outside, and Canadian CBC, Canadian Broadcasting. I will listen to those three, and I tend to get. We need the John McCain. I love that, Denise. That's wonderful.
We need
Yeah, get him back. Do
Yeah.
it the way he did it when Bush was telling a lie. But we need to make sure that with the CBC, Al Jazeera, they will tell it from a non-biased view because they don't have money in the game like Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and Newsmax on there. And we see there are percentages. MSNBC has about 23% misinformation rate. Fox has about a 70% misinformation rate. Newsmax probably 80%. On CNN about 15% bad news rate. And PBS does tend to listen to the liberal issues, but I would say that's because they're looking at both sides, so it comes out anything that people look at both sides are going to be called liberal. So, yeah, Denise, remember when John McCain called out a person in South Carolina for saying something about Barack Obama on there, and he said that's not true, and you need to stop doing that. I'm so impressed with John McCain. We need more John McCains. So
we have talked about so many things. I was wondering if we could get back to unity and getting our legislators to cooperate across the aisle. And one example here is when John was debating Michelle Fischbach on public broadcasting. And the week before Hurricane Helene hit South Carolina, she voted to not fund FEMA. And yet was beginning to say how well we were responding and all of this stuff. And John called her out. Then why did you vote against this bill? And she said it was because it also would have funded the Secret Service. And that was who her party chairman or whatever came out and put that forward to protect his party's candidate better because he'd already been shot at and somebody showed up with another gun at a rally. So the whole thing was fund the Secret Service more. And yet she voted against both.
And I think that was just a made up stuff. Now,
But
I'll
she said that's why she voted
Yeah.
against it.
now just talking, Steve Boyd and I disagree about almost everything politically.
Mhm.
But we would go meet each other at every parade, shake hands, talk for a few minutes, talk about a few different things on there, and we got along fine. Got along quite well. Fishbach has never talked to me, but and that's one of the things. And maybe she thinks I'm below, but it's one of these things. If we have to talk to each other. They don't have this baseball game anymore at Congress. They don't go out to have supper together like Congress, like they did when the Dirksons and the Rockefellers and the Lyndon Johnsons were together. You've got to know a person before you can disagree with them.
One of the most prominent points that I can think of in John's campaign as we were going around was the day that Trump was shot.
Mm.
We were at a parade and we were given the choice to continue to go in a parade. There could be trouble or whatever. And Steve Boyd did come up and he and John stood and talked to each other as equals.
Mm.
And they were there for each other, supporting each other, even though they're like day and night in their beliefs and what they would like to do as legislators. And it was a very prominent picture. And I posted that this is the way we should respond.
Mm-hmm. No.
This is the way that our leaders should respond.
Mm-hmm.
Work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was talking to Steve, I said, we have this problem, we disagree on everything. And the fact that you're taller than me, you're younger than me, then you're better looking than me. I says, but I won't hold that against you. And he says, well, that's the first time I've ever caught you on a lie.
He's a better dresser too.
Oh, he is a better dresser, but well, unless my wife has her way. But that's the type of thing we need to do as legislators.
Mm-hmm.
If I were elected,
Yeah.
I may have trouble going to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. Okay, I may have trouble there, but I could go talk to some of these people on here and try to make friends with them a little bit, because discussion is discussion. We have to talk. We have to, not only do we have to talk, we have to listen.
Yep. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking of a forum the other night in Little Falls with Ron Krisha, who's my opponent, Mike Weiner. I forget which district he is.
He's 5A, 5B.
That's it.
And Greg Hendrickson is 5B.
Greg is
that's
out
okay.
then.
So those two were together. We were missing one Democrat. So there were 3 Republicans against 2 of us Democrats. But what I'm driving to is afterwards, I pulled Ron Krisha aside and asked him about, isn't the GOP, because there's a lot of stuff out there. They call him a rhino. He's a Republican and name only. And I've seen a lot of bad stuff about him on Facebook and so forth. And I asked him, is the GOP, I thought the GOP has your hands tied so that you can't cooperate. And through the conversation, what I got out of it is he believes it's mostly because we got extremists on both sides of the aisle. And I went, that really is a good point. And just like what we see on the national level, Marjorie Greene and all those folks, that's a minority of the House and the Congress. But they're extreme, but they seem to have so much control right now. And I think a lot of it is because Trump is still around. I think once he leaves, hopefully they will change their platform to be more, because that was Ron Krisha's opinion, was we just need common sense. We need to have common sense legislators. Whichever side, we need both sides, but it's the extreme ones that have really been driving the bus. And we want the folks that are, common sense and, be moderate, but yet still be progressive and be able to talk with each other. And so that's kind of my hope on the legislation side, that hopefully some of those extremes will go away and Trump goes away, and we will see more of the unity within, so that legislators can really demonstrate to the public, to everybody, that this is how it works. We talk with each other. We may not agree, but we're working together and we're having dinner together and those kind. And you start demonstrating that, and communities will mimic that. It's whatever positive message we can put out there is what people. Unfortunately, the statistics show, or the psychology shows, that bullying and hate and disrespect, people hear that more. It's like they'll hear 80% of the bad stuff, but only 20% of the good stuff. So we need to demonstrate more good stuff. And for the legislature, that's what I hope will happen, and that it does project out to our communities, as well as and then us encouraging and being nurturing and more positive and progressive, that that will raise up our communities. To do away with this anxiety, like I said, our kids are the ones that are suffering the most, and we're losing them. The grade scores, look at the grade scores. It's terrible. And that's a lot because of their mental health. Their anxiety level they're being bombarded all the time, let alone the stress of, okay, they got to be in football, they got to be in this and that and the other thing. And there's just too much stress on our kids.
Okay. On that message, we've been going at this for quite a while now. I'd really like to thank you, Julia, for showing. Yeah, it's almost 8:30.
Yeah.
8:25. So I appreciate you coming here. The people that have been listening to us, thank you for being here.
Yes.
So I don't know everybody that's been here, but I hope we give you some information that knows better and how to help in these last 4 days here, with Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the last day for voting. So let's, just ask people, are you going to vote? You don't have to tell them. You don't have to tell them who to vote for. Just ask them if they're going to vote. Get them out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my case, if you find any women under age 25, get them to vote. That's 75% for me. So get them to vote. But
thank you, Denise.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be nice. We are for the people.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we want to do. And with that, I think we'll sign up. And thank you again, Julia.
Thank you, AJ and Kathleen.
Thank you, Denise. We see your remarks. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank you
all
for
your
being
remarks.
so
Thank you, Denise.
involved.
Yep.
Get out and vote.
Yeah.
Most of us probably have. Okay. Thank you.